Hello everyone, good afternoon and welcome to SAVE, a TV show that is brought to you today by Citizens Against Family Violence. I'm Jessica Plasters, a victim advocate with the agency.
And I'm Sandy Dawson. I'm the Martinsville and Henry County Sexual Violence Case Manager and Victim Advocate.
Yeah, I'm the Patrick County Advocate, which I've know we said that a million times, so just in case, throw that out there again. Now Sandy, did you know that in 1981, before I was even born, that President Ronald Reagan had signed an executive order establishing National Crime Victims' Rights Week? And did you know that this week actually marks that week? The 33rd?
This week is National Crime Victims' Rights Week.
Right. And this is the 33rd annual week, or, celebration of this week.
It's crazy to think that it's 33 years since then. That was when I was in college.
Well, I was not born, so we're not going to get on age today, but that is exciting, though, because this week it promotes victims' interest and recognizes those who work on behalf of victims, such as ourselves, victim advocates and law enforcement and so on and so forth. So.
Right. You know, National Crime Victims' Rights Week, that's a tongue twister.
I know. I didn't think I was going to say that.
But, we don't know a whole lot about it. So
that's what I was going to ask you. So what really is it? I mean, we have so many awareness things going on right now.
We have a lot that happens even just in the month of April with child abuse awareness and sexual assault awareness and so many others.
And now we have a whole week dedicated to crime victims' rights, which is awesome. So
we have a video, actually, that actually can tell us a little bit more about that.
Okay.
So let's watch that.
Yeah, let's watch that video. Give us a little more.
Tony was my oldest daughter. We had a knock on our door on a Sunday morning, and there was a Denver detective and a victim's advocate, and they said she was killed last night by her boyfriend. It was actually domestic violence, and we had missed the warning signs. When something like this happens to you, the shock hits you, and you get dropped into this whole dark world. You have no idea which direction to go. So I started putting a book together, writing down, okay, this is a question we got to ask the DA, and then the answers I would write in the book too.
It's no longer okay to say, this is our criminal justice system and we'll let you in the door and tell you what you need to know. And the field has got to be ready to change.
Started talking about, well, we should put together a self-advocate book. Some of the basic things you're going to need to know with just about any kind of crime: case number, who's the detectives, who are your DAs, the contact information.
And so the innovation started flying. And it quickly came to, well, if a book, why not a website? Why not an app? That's how people communicate nowadays.
Technology has always been sort of part of our DNA. There were lots of great local programs, but nothing tied them together. So RAIN came in and started the National Hotline, which is routed directly out to local crisis centers. Since we started the National Sexual Assault Hotline in 1994, more than 1.8 million people have gotten help. The online hotline has been growing like crazy. We're up about 47% over last year. The demographics of this crime are incredibly young. Almost half the victims are under 18. We've got to keep pace and reach them in the way that they're communicating. Many sexual assault victims are dealing with PTSD. And so we created a mobile app that allows them to create a self-care plan. We have breathing exercises, visualization exercises, and it all resides on their phone.
People are starved for information. They have to know who's getting service and who isn't. And what kind of services are they getting? What kind of training do the staff have, and so on. All these things that right now we don't know that much about. Our crime statistics need to catch up.
How you doing? Good. We've got a great start at building a really systematic response to trafficking victims in the United States. But there are these key gaps that have consistently been a challenge. And so much of that is about making sure that a victim service provider who's maybe not addressing trafficking right now has the capacity to also identify a trafficking victim There isn't necessarily a comprehensive array of data out there that says, you know, here's all of the people that we haven't identified yet.
The world has changed in a way that our old descriptions are no longer relevant. And the victims area is certainly one of those. The victimization survey has been probably the biggest source of information on victims that we've had in our repertoire. We're trying to mount a survey of victim serving agencies. And the practitioner side is eager to get this kind of information. You can begin to look at the effect of programs, not just projects, but programs, if you have good data on the magnitude of the problem.
In 2002, I received probably the most unspeakable phone call. My sister had been shot. It was a murder-suicide. She had been experiencing domestic violence. From that moment forward, I realized we've got to find a better way to help victims of domestic violence in Denver.
Come on in, have a seat.
Service providers take it for granted that we know what services are out there. We hear repeatedly from victims that they have a very hard time figuring out where to go for help and how to find resources and what's safe.
We have to say we're open for business here, and we can wrap services around you in a way that is defined by what you tell us you need.
The goal is to erase that momentary challenge of where do I go, uncertainty about where I enter the system.
What we're trying to do is provide a wraparound service. If they need childcare, if they need shelter, if they have a pet that's locked up back at home, they can go to one place and find all of the agencies that they need to contact.
When service providers start talking to each other and having working relationships with each other, it really helps increase the quality of services that victims get.
And that's where we are today, is building the public and private partnerships that are necessary to really be a game changer for crime victims.
We need innovation and we need new ideas. The Partnership for Freedom is about trying to build kind of a consistent level of expertise across the country, looking for ways that we can actually take those innovative solutions and bring them to scale, and making sure that there's a way that service providers and law enforcement are talking to each other, that there's information flowing back and forth.
We have to have a new energy that says we are going to do these things together. We're going to deliver a greater service to a broader group of people. The demographics of our country are changing. The technology of how we deliver service has got to grow with the changes in our society. That's the challenge to all of us.
All right. That was an interesting little video and did help explain what this week is all about. Now, National Crimes Victims' Rights Week is managed by the Federal Office of Victims of Crime, of course, but people throughout the United States are now recognizing this week and supporting this week and the victims that go through these different types of crimes. Even President Obama, I know that this is probably yearly done, like a lot of other proclamations, but just last week, on the 19th of April, President Obama signed a proclamation for National Crime Victims' Rights Week. So that's really good that it's being supported all around the U.S.
Yeah, it's really important to know that we have the backing of all of the higher officials. Like in that video, it showed higher officials around Denver, but this is recognized around the United States.
Right.
And even here, that's the reason we wanted to point it out. You know, across the United States, there's so many crimes that go on, but there's
so
thousands,
many in the news right now that's going on.
Right, there's like 10,000 victim service agencies throughout. And victim service agencies aren't just us as advocates. That includes victim services that are in the court service unit,
Right.
Or in the Commonwealth Attorney's Office.
The victim witness.
The actual Commonwealth Attorney's offices, all the clerk's offices, our law enforcement offices, even the
Right.
hospital are all victim service providers. So, you know, it's just really awesome that there's so many different victim service providers available. But, you know, the sad thing is that even though we have all of us as providers available, 50% of the crimes go unreported.
So a lot of them still don't know about the resources that are out there for them.
Right.
Which is what this all started about, from my understanding, that people
Right.
weren't receiving the appropriate services needed, so people started coming together
and they didn't know who to turn to.
Right.
So everybody, one of the words that they cued in on was wraparound services. Everybody tries to work together to make sure that we're all providing everything that the victims need. Just like when we go to the hospital, they can provide the medical care,
Right.
and law enforcement can enforce the laws that are there. And then we get into the court units, so we have the Commonwealth Attorney and victim
So it's
witness
a process,
helping.
and everyone works
And
together.
we kind of blend and work between all of those before and after, and help the victims of the crimes. So it's really important for victims to know that all of these services are available.
Right.
And so that if people know someone who is a victim of a crime, they can help get them connected. You know, there's a lot of high-profile cases that we hear about in the news all the time. Other crimes besides what we work with
Right.
on an ongoing basis.
I mean, we just had the Boston bombing, and
Right.
a lot of those school shootings. And
Right, that one that was in Sandy Hook Elementary School when all the children were killed. You know, like you said, the bombing at Boston Marathon. So many more are happening all the time, as
Those
well
are just the
as
ones hitting the news.
Right.
And hitting the
even the
media.
ones that involve sexual assault crimes or child abuse or domestic violence cases, the ones that make national news, like the one in Steubenville, Ohio recently with the football players and a 16-year-old
16-year-old girl.
sexual assault victim. There was one in California that was a 15-year-old sexual assault
She
victim.
committed suicide.
And
right?
she
That's
committed
one.
suicide afterwards, after what happened. They've been charged as well. Even last year, Penn State had a huge child abuse case that
Right.
that played out
All over the news.
on the
and
news. But those, like you said, are the ones we hear about. So many of them, locally especially, we don't hear about.
You don't hear about, and they're not reporting it either. It's
Right.
going unknown. And
But the crimes that we work more closely with, working with clients of all ages who have experienced some type of abuse,
right.
we've got some PSA announcements that kind of go into
Okay.
each of those different areas. So we want to go ahead and play one of those so that we can talk about how that
I
works.
know we have one on
what the
elder
type
abuse,
of work
is that
we
the-
work
or
with.
elder
Right.
elder abuse fraud or something similar like that. All right, let's check that one out real quick.
A lifetime of savings can disappear overnight. Millions of dollars are stolen every day from unsuspecting older adults by family members, caregivers, and trusted professionals. If you suspect financial exploitation, call the Elder Care Locator at 1-800-677-1116 or go online to the National Adult Protective Services Association to be connected with help in your area.
That's a really good resource for people that might be experiencing that type of abuse, and that's something that we deal a lot with as well.
Right. We deal more with elder abuse when it's physical, domestic violence type situations or sexual assaults. I've been on several cases through the years that have been elder abuse, sexual
Right.
assault cases, and but they experience abuse in so many other ways, and that
Right.
spotlighted the financial exploitation that often occurs, taking advantage of older people.
Right. Which a lot of times is tied in with the physical abuse part as well too. So.
Right. And you know, then there's a lot of other crimes that we deal with. We've talked about domestic violence and sexual violence. We don't see a lot of it or hear a lot about it, but we know that it's going on, is sex trafficking.
And that's interesting because I'm actually going on a training this weekend that is, the name of the training is Human Trafficking, It Is Happening in Virginia or something. It happens in Virginia or something like
Right.
that. And it's titled that. So I'm looking forward to going to that.
So let's run this PSA on sex trafficking.
Every day in America, children are trafficked for sex. In schools, shopping malls, truck stops, clubs, and bars. Think it can't happen in your neighborhood? Think again. If you suspect a child is being trafficked for sex, call the National Human Trafficking Resource Center 24-hour hotline at 1-888-3737-888.
One thing I find really interesting about these PSAs is it gives the hotline number for pertaining to that cause, in which a lot of times, even like if you call one of these hotlines and you're in a local area, they can give resources to local resources, such as ourselves. I know that
Right.
we've been contacted from the National Domestic Violence or Sexual Assault Hotline, and it's been someone close by, and they've actually put them in contact with us.
Right.
So
And
all
that
those
happens all
hotlines
the
are
time.
wonderful. Yeah,
And
they're-
especially online as well. There's a lot of online connections that people can check into, and they will link them to the ones that are close by.
Right.
Of course, we run our hotline number on the bottom of the screen, and
Right.
that's 632-8701, that we can be reached to provide services locally. But if you're not real sure whether or not you fit into our service bracket, then you can always call a national hotline, and they will refer you appropriately to whichever service
Right, most definitely.
works for you. There's the sad part of the work that we do is that we have to work with children who have experienced sexual assault.
The majority of the sexual assaults are children, unfortunately, in this community and in this area, which in a lot of areas, but especially in small town areas like the one we live in.
Unfortunately, we have a legal system who is very proactive at prosecuting
Most
those
definitely.
cases. So let's check that PSA out.
Child sexual abuse is hard to talk about. Most children won't. So we have to. If you suspect a child is a victim of sexual abuse, find out how you can help. Call the 24-hour Child Help Hotline at 1-800-4-A-CHILD. That's 1-800-422-4453.
For children, it's hard for children to talk about sexual assault,
Most definitely.
for sexual abuse, and in fact, most children won't talk about it.
Until they become adults and they've dealt with this their entire life.
Right. So it's really important as adults for us to take responsibility and help to keep the children safe. If anybody suspects that there is a child that's a victim of sexual abuse, it's important to get help for them as soon as possible when you know that something is going on. Linking people with the Department of Social Services is vitally important. Law enforcement, get the reports out there.
Right.
Call us
I mean,
if
you
you're
can
confused.
call them anonymously if you don't feel
Right.
that you want to give your name. They definitely take anonymous reports as well, but definitely report
But
it,
if you
especially
see or hear or know of
the
something
children.
going on, please make the report. Get the word out there, but also know that it doesn't have to be a current event that's happened to get help.
Right.
We offer services to people who were victimized as children and are adults now and still want the help and want somebody to talk to.
Right.
There's so much we could talk about this, and just like you said, you're going to training this week. That's one of the important things, is that we're always seeking training to be able to help our victims better. We mentioned that there's a lot of resources out there, both online and by phone, a lot of toll-free numbers that can be called, and we have those available if
Right.
somebody needs help. We also want to
Just call our
thank,
hotline and we can give you the numbers to a lot of other hotlines.
Yeah.
That might be
we're
able to
going to
help you.
trainings all the time, as well as all of our other victim service providers, and I want us to especially thank them, because
definitely.
we
For
have
working with us
such
together.
a wonderful group of people in all the places we've named: the hospital, law enforcement, victim witness, Commonwealth attorneys' offices, just across the board that we work with that provide services, including Department of Social Services,
Right,
don't mean to
absolutely.
leave them out, that provide outstanding services on behalf of crime victims. And it's so important that we can coordinate and provide these wraparound services for all of our clients. We just appreciate when we have the help of all of our other service
Right.
providers so that we can do that wraparound service.
Right, and I see that going very well in this community, so hopefully it will continue to grow and expand and work well. So this is Crime Victims' Rights Week, 33rd annual celebration of this week, and this will be something that will continue on, and hopefully as it continues on, more services will become available and more people will be aware. Maybe that 50% of unreported crimes can drop, and that's all crimes, correct?
Right, that was all crimes.
Yeah, not just
Even though
sexual
we
assault,
know
domestic
that
violence.
those are the most underreported crimes.
Right, so that's probably a bigger number than 50%. All right, well, Sandy, we're going to have to take a quick commercial break because I know you have step 3 of the healing journey to tell everyone today. So we'll be right back.
I'm standing in between some great Jeep Liberties. For those of you who don't know, they have a very stocky body style. We've got some great colors here. We've got rescue green, we've got white, we've got cherry red, black.
Hi, this is Wes Mills with Jim Mills Nissan and Jim Mills Chrysler, Dodge, and Jeep. I'd like to invite you to visit with us. We have no games, no gimmicks. We stand behind our vehicles, we stand behind our service, and we stand with our community. Come visit us at 4760 Greensboro Road, Ridgeway, across from Martinsville Speedway.
You're watching BTW 21, your neighborhood network, the pride of Martinsville and Henry County.
There are many reasons to choose Monroe Muffler Brake and Service for all of your car's maintenance, repair, and tire needs. We work on your schedule with convenient evening, Saturday, and even Sunday hours. We've earned our customers' trust with over 50 years of guaranteed quality service. And one more popular reason is Monroe's Oil Change and More for only $19.99. Plus, we'll rotate your tires, check tire pressure, and inspect your brakes for free. Trust Monroe to keep your car and your family safe. For dealer quality service for less, it's Monroe Muffler Brake and Service.
El Norteño in Patrick Henry Mall. Come join the fun at the largest Mexican restaurant in Martinsville.
Hi, my name is Ronald Bennett, and welcome to Family Pharmacy. We're located on 58 outside of Danville at the Brownsville station. We're open Monday through Friday from 9 to 6 and 9 to 2 on Saturday. We have a drive-through service, and we fill all prescriptions. I'd like you also to meet our store manager, Stan Leggett, and our lead technician, Jordan Bailey. Come in and take a look at us. We're a small pharmacy doing big things.
Hi, I'm Emily Aaron, the new face on BTW 21. Join me for the weekend review on your neighborhood network.
All right, welcome back to SAFE. Now, before we went to commercial break, we talked about how this week is National Crime Victims' Rights Week. Very good week. Another awareness thing going on in April. And now Sandy's going to give us our step 3 of the healing journey. For the past 3 weeks, for the past 3 weeks, she's been giving us one step of the healing journey that are going to, at the end, after 12 weeks, right, are going to form together and build upon each other. So. All right, Sandy.
Right, and each one do build upon each other. It's really important for the victims or survivors of sexual assault to know that this is a continual process.
Right.
It's not something that we can just wave a magic wand and make it go away. So there are steps to take. And one thing to keep in mind is that it's important to just keep taking steps in the right direction, because so many times we might take a step forward and take 2 back. But that's okay. It's really okay, because you experience and go through so many things. And it's important to know that that is okay when that happens. Just pick back up and start back in the right direction towards healing. And healing is not necessarily like a Band-Aid on a wound. This is something, not a surface kind of heal. This is about getting down inside and making a determination about what you need. So we have the first 2 steps already, and step 3 is another important step is to identify your personal boundaries. Determine, based on whatever happened to you, what is acceptable and what is unacceptable. Decide
Boundaries
for
are really
you
important in life.
where you're at with everything that happened. You may start changing the people that you're around, the people that you connect with. You really find out who your friends are and who your friends aren't. You find out who's going to be more helpful to you. And just like we said on week 1, building your support network, you find out then who your people are that's going to help you through this whole entire process. You know, that you have people to turn to. So when you're doing the assessment for your personal boundaries, it's important that you start determining when to put those in place. If you have a hard time standing up for yourself or agreeing to do things that you don't really want to do, you may need to put some boundaries in place. You start by being self-aware. And anytime that I work with clients, I have some surveys and some questions and things that I work with clients on. Self-awareness is vitally important, just to get to know who you are, where you are, what you believe, what you stand for. Then the next part of it is being able to let others know what your boundaries are, being able to vocalize that. And I work with clients on that as well. Step 3 is assessing when something happens around you, is deciding whether or not it's really about you. Because I have always in my past had a tendency with taking things personally.
Right, I do the same.
It's important to determine when something is being said or done around you, is it really about you or is it about them and they're having a bad day and taking it out on you?
Right.
So once you start putting that in perspective, it helps you to become stronger. And the more strong you are, the better you're able to make your boundaries known to other people. When we're weak, we're vulnerable, and it's hard to let other people know what your boundaries are. But the stronger you become, knowing who you are, what you believe, and what you stand for, then you can let other people know what your boundaries are and what is acceptable and what's unacceptable.
All right. So is that step 3 there?
That is step 3, and next week we'll go into step 4.
All right, sounds good. So we got 1 through 3 done, and I look forward to hearing what step 4 is. So stay tuned, and we'll see you next Tuesday.